Good afternoon. It's Graham Coath. It's 4 o'clock. It's My Music. And this afternoon, you want to know who's Emily been reading about in books recently? And also, what is her favourite Elton John album? So stay tuned.
I need to get going, Mel. See you later.
Afternoon. As I say, it's Graham Coath. It's 4 o'clock. It's My Music. And today I've been joined by Emily. Now, how do you pronounce it? Is it Glazener or
Glazener? So it's great.
Glazener?
The way
Glazener.
it's described to me by my husband, it was Glaze Nerd without the D. And so when my kids he's like, I always put this out there so because people look at me when I talk about other people. My husband passed away 7 years ago, but I always talk about it. No, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. But because then I'll say, well, then I had gone out on a date and they're looking at me like, well, but you have a husband. I was like, no, he's dead. So, but he's very much alive in our lives. But I can remember him teaching me how to say his name, the Glazener. He's like, no, everybody does that. Glazed nerd, like a nerd without the D.
Yeah, Glazener. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm very proud of my maiden name. So I guess my surname, Faust. Very German, right?
Yeah, right.
I can remember in school, I would get so irritated. They called me down the office and they were like, Emily Faust, please come to the office. I was like, there's an opera. Like, there's an opera of it. Like, it's an actual name. But that was Natchez, Mississippi. So it would be that,
Yeah, so please be respectful when saying my name.
Exactly.
Thank you. So we were bonding just before we came on about Elton John.
Yes.
And we said people would love to find out what your favourite album is. And it turns out that our favourite Elton John album is the same album, Captain Fantastic. Yeah. Why Captain Fantastic?
I love it. It's so brilliant because it's telling the story. And if you know anything about Elton John and Bernie Taupin, how they came together and how they were just kids, I'm almost 41. And at that time, they were 17 and 20 and how they met and how, it was just that chance. And everybody's seen Rocket Man. Yes. But there's much more to the story than that. I do love Rocket Man. Don't get me wrong. That's a great movie. But it's just such a beautiful story and how they put it together and how it was written. Like, if you know it, the words and the lyrics were sent to Elton and he wrote all of Captain Fantastic on like a cruise ship from, one side of the world to the next. I think it was from England to America or vice versa. And I think that's fabulous as well. And trying to get down. I love the stories and trying to get down into the practice room to be able to write the songs. That's great. And neat.
Yeah, classic. And also, I just love that cover as well. Him, that Captain Fantastic.
Like in a bubble of like normalcy. That's so funny. He's in his Shire. I think his wife at the time, the head of, her is like on a duck or something walking by. And you're like, that's just crazy. And Elton John is conquering, the world on this like piano that's kind of come alive. And yeah, it's such a great album. It's one, like, people talk about albums all the time or they talk about great album art, but I think that Captain Fantastic has been overlooked in that sense. Everybody goes to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, which is a wonderful album, but it's not Captain Fantastic.
No, I think it's rocky, and I think it's funky, and I think it's let's get into the music side of things for a minute. It's subtle as well. I think there's a bit more space in it than Yellow Brick Road. I think Yellow Brick Road's great.
Yeah.
Great album, right? Goodbye Yellow Brick Road's a great album. Absolutely. It's almost like a mini rock opera in its own little way, etc. But Captain Fantastic is just a great rock album.
You're right. And another really cool thing about it is I can remember reading, and I read this, I think when I was like 14, 15, that it's the very first album ever to debut to #1. And then after that, people do it all the time. But before that, didn't happen. Like, how cool is that, you know? And at the time, you remember that's when they had the big Elton John week, you know, in LA, and just riding around covered in green, something, I don't know, you know, with the bowler hat on and everything. I just, it's such a great album. Like you were talking about rock and roll and like, Tell Me When the Whistle Blows. That's so great. Or the Tower of Babel. I would say Babel, but the Tower of Babel, like such cool, great songs. I say to everybody, if you haven't heard it, go out and get it, and you can listen to it from the beginning to end. And if you're lucky enough to get you some vinyl of it, it's got all kinds of treasures inside. Even of the life of Elton and Bernie.
I'm very fortunate to have the deluxe vinyl version with all of the bits, and you can take them all out, and it's just marvelous. Why would you not want that in your life? Okay. Yes, kids, you can download this stuff. Yes, kids, you can listen to it on certain streaming platforms, but you miss out on so much by opening these treasure troves up.
The organic, being able to hold something, like right behind all of my, like I've got my thing set up like this, but I've got all my DVDs that are really important to me. And like, yes, I have them on my iPad, but I want to hold them and know that I own them. It's weird, I know, but I love it. I love owning my stuff. And maybe it comes from a child. Like, it's like, here's something that I know, like there's my little box set, and I keep it there because I like that one. I like it. I can listen to it on my phone, but I like to have it, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. My wife thinks I'm obsessed, but it's fine. It's only because I use up so much floor area in the house with records and CDs and stuff. But you know,
but check it out, Graham. Look at my bedroom.
It's all good.
Like it's all you good. Can tell that I'm a widow because, or not married, because like no man would be like, oh yes, let's have all this around the bedroom.
Now we will talk about your music in a minute. But you also said, and we've also bonded over the fact that you and our go-to in terms of books is actually autobiographies or biographies, predominantly about musicians. I mean, again, what is it about that? I mean, for me, I really love the stories as much as anything else. I love the stories of just where people started in their, it's why I do these interviews, where people started in their love of music, where it all began, you know, growing up in what kind of home, who listened to music, who didn't like music, you know, which of the members of the family told that person, you're never going to be good enough, and yet they managed to conquer the world. I just love all of that. Is that what you love about these books too?
I love to see why people tick and why they turn to music, and what music meant to them, and how it and I love the journey. Like, I also said I love comedians as well, because I think they both fight in that same kind of way in that journey. And I love it. I love, you know, like when you read about John, when you read about like I was saying before, Buddy Holly, or the Beatles, or we talked about Keith Richards, you know, what made it go, okay, this is that thing that makes my soul turn to fire.
What is it makes these people choose this as a life?
Yes. Because I mean, like even that's like when I was a kid, I just loved it. And I know lots of people who are like, music's music. I'm like,
no, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah.
No.
I really enjoy that. I really enjoy the stories of why. And like you said, and who was the person who encouraged them, and who was the person who was like, 1 in a million, you know?
Yeah. Do you get frustrated with people that just hear music but don't listen to it? Do you know what I'm saying there?
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I have 3 boys, and my youngest hears music the way I do. Now, all my boys love music, but the way he just takes it in is just like, it's so great to sit and watch, because I was like, oh, that was me. I did that. And he has his own ideas of what he likes and what he doesn't. And then my oldest really likes music, but it's like music's music, you know? Reagan, my youngest, he just takes it in like, oh, this is the stuff, you know? So yeah, I get that. And then you see some people who are like, yeah, it's great to have music on, but let's go do the. I don't know what life would be without music because it's so like it surrounded me. It's have you ever talking to somebody and you hear them say something and in your head, for me, I'm either quoting a piece of stand-up and or a lyric. Like they do the same thing. They'll say something for me and I'm just in my head going.
Did you as a child, and now this is interesting because I did as a child, you mentioned the comedy thing. As a child, I either went to sleep listening to music or I went to sleep listening to comedy tapes.
It's funny that you say that. I do that.
And I learned these sketches off by heart.
I do that now, but yeah, I went to sleep listening to music if I could, If my mom wasn't freaking out, I went to sleep listening to music. But when it came to comedy, I didn't have the albums when I was younger, but I would watch them whenever I could. Like and my dad was the big influence with comedy, I can remember the first time watching Monty Python going, this is hilarious. And then my mom's like, that's not funny. I was like, yes, it is. And she's like, that's not funny. And she'd say something else was funny. And you're like, no, this is funny. She had a completely different idea of what was funny and what my dad and I had was funny. And I'm raised with 3 boys. So it's 3 boys and I'm in the middle. And so, yeah, like I was always like, I love Steve Martin. And like I said, Monty Python. And I can remember watching Eddie Murphy. And then I went back most recently and watched Eddie Murphy. And I was like, how in the world was I able to watch this when I was younger? And the answer is I have older teenage brothers who didn't care what I was watching if they were sitting and watching me. They were babysitting me because I was like, oh my God. But it's just brilliant. I love Billy Connolly. I was listening to Billy Connolly while I was walking.
You were.
Yesterday. Which
Billy Connolly was it that you were listening to?
It's Billy and Albert, which was in the Albert Hall at the Royal Albert Hall. But it's so funny because I'm down here in Texas and I'm walking around, and for me, I'll kind of mumble it if I've heard it that many times, and like you don't think anybody's there, and then you're saying something like that he's quoted, they look at you and you're like, "Good morning," you walk by, and I was just dying laughing, and then I always find out, God, that's funny, like that's funny.
I have to be careful what we talk about because of the time of day and the platforms that we're talking about on. But if anyone's listening and they've never listened to Billy Connolly live, you do need to do it. And in particular, you do need to listen to his sketch about pubic hair because it really is the funniest thing ever.
Or condom. That one's hilarious.
We'll just leave it there. We won't say any more. We won't spoil it for you. But just condoms or pubic hair. Those are 2 great sketches in the echelons of sketches.
It's, a really clean version of it is when the priest would come over. That sketch. The priest would come over, and he and his sister would be fighting over the. He's got more of the coat. What are you talking about? Coat? It's an eiderdown. Or he's got his legs in the arms of the eiderdown.
Absolutely brilliant.
And you just see the children. Have you read A Maid in Scotland? That's good as well.
No, but I should do that. I shall do that. I shall put it on my list. I have just got a copy of Christian Hirsch's new book on motherhood and music. So Seeing Sideways. So that's next on my list. I'm currently reading the book on the Ox, who was John Entwistle, the bass player from the Who.
Yeah. Bass player for the Who, yes.
Ooh, yeah. So that's a really good read as well. So there you go. Some book recommendations, folks. What more do you want? You get book recommendations, comedy recommendations, and music recommendations all on the same show. So when was it you first discovered that you had a talent musically? When did that happen?
I was a kid and I lived in Mississippi and I've always loved music, but I was probably 6 or 7 years old. And this is a more rural part of Natchez in Mississippi, and I was in this school, and I think it was called Susie B. West, which I thought was the strangest name. And we had tornadoes down there at times, especially in that part of the 80s we did. And a tornado had done something and knocked out all the power at that moment in the school. Like we had to like duck and cover, and then we had no power for quite a while. And all the kids in this little area that we were in were scared. And so the teachers went and got candles, because you could have candles in schools then. And they were lighting the candles and trying to encourage us not to be so afraid, because I mean the bad weather was still around. And so everybody stood up on a chair. I remember the wooden chair, and they sang, and everybody had like, there's 15 kids in the class. They've all got to sing a song, right? And everyone sang Mary Had a Little Lamb, or Jesus Loves Me, or All the Little Children. And I got up and sang Amarillo by Morning by George Strait with all the wrong words. And I was like, just really into that song. Amarillo, but and I'm like a 6 or 7 year little girl. And I remember that the entire room went quiet and just watched me. And then shortly after that, all the lights came back on. And the assistant teacher grabbed my hand and she dragged me all the way down the office and called my mom. It's like, do you know what your daughter just did? And she thought I was in trouble, and she just couldn't believe that I could stand there, no problem, and just sing that entire song, all the wrong words. And it was that, ooh, this is so cool. I got this audience, got this. And that's where I got that first taste of, I really want to stand in front of people and sing. And so my dad heard the story, and he could play guitar and things like that. And he would play for the nursing home that my mom worked for, like the care home that my mom worked for. And he would take me in there when I was 7 and 8, and we would sing old cowboy songs with a microphone and everything while he would play to the people in the care homes. It was really cool.
Wow. Do you still remember any of those songs?
Yes.
Go on, give me a little burst of one of those.
Okay, so there would have been Old Red was one of the orneriest yet I'd seen at the big rodeo. He'd bite you and kick you and stomp out your life. Old Red had never been rode. Oh.
Hey, brilliant!
I remember that because I cried at the end of that one. Like by the time end of it, because they both die. It's Marty Robbins. My dad was huge on westerns and stories and songs. That one in Strawberry Roan. It's so great. And that's one of the first places I got the love of lyrics, because when you're listening to Marty Robbins, he's telling you a story. He's just singing it, like they're hanging tonight. He was jealous and he killed his love and her new love. That's the song. They're hanging me tonight. I like Water, because like, it's just, two people who it's a man on his horse, and the horse's name is Dan. And if you listen to that song, you have to figure out when he said Stan and me, he's talking about the horse, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. So yeah, Marty Robbins was my first. Ooh, I like those lyrics.
Well, do you know what? Listening to you tell that little story as well about how music first came about for you, or how you first discovered yourself there. I'm thinking, one day this is going to be a good book. Go back to the books again. This will be a really good book.
You're going to be positive and believe, like, yes, one day it will be a good
one
book.
Day, Emily, when you're massive in everybody's homes, this will be a really good book. So yeah, I look forward to that. So yeah, so moving on then from those humble beginnings, when did the rock enter your life? When did that,
Well,
when did the power come in?
Well, rock and roll, I always really love rock and roll because, like I said before, I have 3 brothers, and 2 of them are older than me. One's 6 years older and one's 4 years older. And so they would, I remember when Metallica came through, and everybody was really, I was like, 9, 10, 11, 12, when they were really into that. And I remember all those things. But for me, really realizing I had such a powerful voice was probably about the time I was 14 or 15. And I had gotten really, really sick. And then I kind of just would sit in my room, and I would listen to music all day. And that's when I really, truly discovered, I always liked Elton John, but I really discovered how great Elton John was, like when I was about 14 or 15. And so then I did all this research, and I begged my parents to be able to teach me how to play guitar. And my dad, he said, if you learn this John Prine song, which I did, I learned how to play a little bit of a John Prine song. And he said, okay, well, you can take lessons. And then I jumped right in it to the deep end. The first song I was learning how to play when I was taking lessons was Your Song. Do you know how many chord changes are in the song, the Elton John song, Your Song?
Well, yeah, you do realize, he
Yeah.
plays piano, right?
Yeah.
So,
and
you realize
play it on the guitar. Like I wanted to play it on the guitar. And I had such a teacher. I can do it though. I had such an amazing teacher that his name is Kevin Harding. And he would listen. He had such a great ear. He would listen to wherever I wanted, and then he would write it out. And I can remember the way he would do it was like C, and then he would put slash 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 slash. So that's 4 beats of the C, 4 beats of the, things like that. But he took Your Song and he translated it for me into C, because he knew there's no way I'd that young be able to sing it in E flat like it should be. And like I still play it that way today. It's so, and I have some of the same music that he wrote out for me. I don't want to ever get rid of it because, it was so nice of him to do that. But yeah, and then 14, by the time I was 14, like and I think that's for a lot of people, music was just life. I mean, I took it in like a sponge. I would sit in my room with headphones and have the albums and just look at it, or I'd take the headphones out and make my entire neighborhood hear. My brother called me up years ago and he goes, I know all the words to like every Elton John song because of you. He goes, I'm not mad. He goes, I was then, but like, he's like, I know them all, Emily.
Were there other singers that you try to
that
you try to emulate or listen to or
At the time, I really didn't at the time, because I was getting so much joy and I was getting over being sick, and I was just, but it's funny because the way I would do it, the way I would listen to Elton is I also had to do chores and things like that. So I would mow the grass with like my Walkman, right? Either I was putting it and or writing it, and I couldn't hear my voice, but I could hear where or not my voice was matching with his. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're like this and you can just hear the vibration. And so then I didn't think I was louder than the lawnmower, but I was. But my neighbors would be like calling my mom up, and she's like, do you know that she's mowing the grass with Elton again?
So even back then, were you able to make your own voice work on top of it, the Elton tracks, if you know what I mean?
You know what? Because I was a young girl trying to match a voice from 1970 to at the time about 95,
Yeah.
I created myself a really big range because I just wanted to be able to do it, because at the time, if you're anybody, it's really hard to sing Elton John songs anyway. So I just wanted to do it. And then I really liked George Michael and I really liked the Beatles. And so I got to this point to where I didn't really listen to women because of where my voice was. And not that I didn't like women rockers. Of course I do. It was such a cool thing to be a little teenage girl singing like a Beatles song, or to be at the time, like this is the,
So where would you start Your Song, for example? Where would you start that?
Your Song?
Yeah. It's a little bit funny. Come on.
It's a little bit funny. This feeling
inside.
Not one of those who can easily hide. I don't have much money, but if I
did, I'd buy a big house where we both could live. Beautiful. Thank you very much.
You know what's funny that you have me sing that? I tore the house down about 2 weeks ago. And I say this because I really did. I was doing an acoustic show. I was opening for another band, and I had practiced. And on the way up to the gig, I remembered Leave On. I was like, oh, I love that song. And then because I had heard it like on the playlist. And then I got to the stage, right? And I started going over it, just while we were doing the sound check. And the guy, the manager, Mike walks past me and he started singing Razorface. So I thought, ooh, he knows this album. I was like, I have to do this song. So I waited about 4 or 5 songs in and I started up Leave On. And I'm telling you, like the crowd turned like, oh, we all know this and we all love this song. And by the end, it was great. I had them not, they were going like this because I love the end the way Elton and Ray Cooper, you know, with the tambourine. He shall be, he shall be, he shall be live on. So I was using like my guitar and tapping it, and it was just awesome. It was just so cool. And it was the way I heard him do it, and then the way I do it, and I just mix it together. And yeah, I just love it. I love to say I have a voice like I do because I love Elton John so much.
Yeah, it's important. I think for everybody, there's somebody that you follow in those early stages where, you know, you pick up little mannerisms, you pick up little inflections, but you turn it into something else yourself as well. You know.
Oh yeah, like so whenever you and because it's things like that, you know, like when I sing Arise, when I sing Stay, when I sing Moonlight, when I sing Undercover at Night, which is in my head, it's just like the Rolling Stones when I'm doing that one. You know, those are all some of our songs, and I just love it because I just love that influence that I got from all these different artists. I just, you know, and then it's wrapped into little old me, and it's great because like at times I used to, it's not so much anymore, but used to, I would get up on stage and I would sing something. Then I get off stage and you have some people go, I never thought that was going to come out of you. You know, call them, you know, because, and mostly it's because I was at the time when I was like, you know, my husband was still alive and I was more of mom. I was less, you know, rock and roll chick, you know. He wasn't always so pleased with that, you know, that whole, like, I love my chucks and everything. He liked a more sporty me. Which I like sports, don't get me wrong, but I'm just so comfortable in the t-shirt and the ripped up jeans and the chucks and let's go, you know? That's like my wardrobe. People are like, that's your style, Emily.
Well, here's the funny thing. Now, because of my day job, rock t-shirts, I'm wearing a Marillion t-shirt today. Big up Marillion. Right, rock and roll. Yeah, fantastic. This is from their couch convention from this year. But every day is a rock t-shirt. Every day. Apart from the weekends when occasionally my wife says, I think you should dress up, you know, because we're seeing people. So generally it's jeans and a rock t-shirt throughout the week. That's my work. That's my suit and tie. And then at the weekends, occasionally I wear something a little bit more dapper, just because it kind of fits in with me being more human with around my wife. And so there we go.
That's great.
So
like
bring us whatever she buys me. Anyway, what a favorite rock shirt?
Favorite rock t-shirt, yeah.
Oh, well, I make them into dad jokes as well, which is a bit sad, isn't it? But you know, when you're a dad, I feel that, and I've been a dad 5 times, or I am a dad 5 times. I feel that you can make dad jokes all the time. I personally think dad jokes are incredibly funny. So yeah, I make different jokes based on my t-shirts. So, and my younger kids really enjoy those. So I have a Piroshka one, which I got last year, a Piroshka concert, which has got a giraffe on it. And the joke often comes out, you're having a giraffe, you know, and the t-shirt. And then the other, I've got a couple of Rush t-shirts, which I'll wear. I'll put those on and I'll be running around the house and I'll say, stop. Sorry, I'm in a rush. Look, you just can't, you know, can't help it. That's just the way it happens. That's just the way it happens. I must get myself a Star Wars t-shirt. That's a really good idea, actually.
You know, it's funny. My oldest son is in the Navy, so I had my own t-shirts. But then, like, I was like, I don't have to mail him his stuff. I was like, he's already getting new stuff, and he's smaller. And I was like, I totally rated his t-shirts. Like, so yeah, this used to be his. Not anymore. It's mine.
No,
it looks better.
Yeah.
Looks better on me anyway. So yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely, I have favorite T-shirts. I have things that you put something on, you're like, oh, I really love baseball shirts. Not even a band shirt, but you know what I mean. Baseball shirts. The shirts where it's like a solid color here, and then the sleeves are a different color down to like, oh, those are like my favorite things in the world to wear. Because you
That's
could
cool.
put in rock and roll and mom, so it's like, it's great. Yeah.
So tell us about, come right up to date. Tell us about the band. How did you meet? How did Red Iris get together?
Okay, so I worked for quite a while for a contractor that out of ExxonMobil, and the boss that I had was really into the rock and roll scene in Houston, and he would play covers.
Ooh, we lost you there a minute. Hello, mother. Come back. There we go.
Yes, and my husband had just passed away, and my boss knew my husband even before I did. And my boss's name is Gene. His is Gene Velasquez. Because if I don't say his name, he's going to be like, you said everybody else's name but mine. I was like, all right, Gene Velasquez. He was slightly famous in Houston. And he was like, come out and see the band and hang out. And so I did. And he had seen me when my husband was alive play acoustic. So I can remember it was, they were playing Rolling in the Deep. And it was almost like a challenge. And, to have girls come up and sing it, because we all know that's not easy to sing, it's Adele. And so he walks over very confident. He was like, girl, get up and sing. Get up there and go sing. And his guitarist, his name was Eric at the time. He goes like, are you sure? Because I was so dressed mom. Like I even had chanclas on, or flip-flops on, like it was like so mom. So when I got there and I sang it, and the crowd again went whoop and turned and looked, it was like, oh, I love this. So after my husband passed away, I used to go and sing with the band when I had a chance to. It was something that I really enjoyed. It was something that one of the worst years of my life, which was 2014 when he passed, became one of the best years of my life, because I became more of me. I got this part of music that I'd never had before, like playing with the band. And my boss would kind of coach me at it. Well, the drummer for that band, years later, messaged me one day, and I was in the office at work. I remember this so very well. I was in the office, and he was like, "Hey, Emily, me and some guys we're gonna be jamming tonight. Do you want to come around and jam?" So I thought that was great, because he happens to be the drummer's JJ Herrera, and happens to be the best friends with Gene, my boss. So I went over into Gene's office, and I was like, hey, I got this message about jamming with JJ in like a couple of days. He's like, that's an audition, Emily. I was like, no, it literally says jam. He's like, that's an audition, Emily. I was like, okay. Well, so then I go in and I jam, and everything seems to be really good. We even started working on the song Because of You, which will be coming out, sometime later on this year. And I went back the next day, and I was like, it says that I've been added to their text feed. He goes, that means you're in the band, Emily. So that's how I got in the band. And we've been together ever since. And it was just a melting of a lot of different influences. Like I said, I've got Elton John and Marty Robbins, and I love The Cure and Motley Crue, and you can go on and on. Music that I love. And then they all had I know it's so great, because I love my bassist, or the bassist for Red Iris. His name is Oscar Gonzalez, but we call him OG. It's just, everybody's got a nickname. And he always talks about Echo and the Bunnymen. But when you play, yeah, he loves, and I love all the things that we're so different. We're all so very different. I know JJ is really into he loves the band Blackberry Smoke, and then Three, and and then he go into some other stuff, and then he also loves Robbie Williams, and his idea of all really good music. I love going and hanging out in his garage, into the evenings with him and his wife, and just listening to everything that they've got, because you're like, have you heard this, Emily? I was like, no. And then it's just great to enjoy.
I love people that are really honest. Do you know what I mean? I love people that are really honest with their music.
Very honest. That's the thing about JJ, that he's my drummer, and he's the drummer for Red Iris. And when I tell you, if he tells me I did good, I'm literally on cloud 9, because most people are like, oh, you were great. And he'll be like, no, you were off. Or, you know, he'd be like, I don't know, Emily, I think you can do better. And I'd rather hear that and know, and especially from somebody I trust and that I built this music with, you know, than, you know, somebody just saying, I don't know, Emily, I don't like it. I don't know you. But when JJ says it, yeah, for sure.
But I think it's a really rare thing as well for someone to be completely honest and true about what music they like, because it's so easy with music, because there's a you know, with certain genres of music or whatever as well, it's you know, there may be a fashion element to it, or you know, a group of people that like a particular type of music, and you get in with those kind of people as well. And then it's like, you know, as you said, you know, I like Robbie Williams, and some people would go, well, hang on a minute, you can't like, you know, for example, you can't like The Cure and Robbie Williams, you just can't like it. But you know, if someone likes something, they should just be allowed to like it, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, because if you saw my playlist, it's so diverse. First of all, I've got a crazy amount of comedy on it, you know, that I've got all this music that I really dig. Like, I just added Savage Garden to it like a couple of weeks ago, because I was like, my kids heard I Want You just like, I think it was yesterday, and the look on their faces like, I have to learn all the words to this song. You know, all they can pick up is what everybody can pick up. They know Chicky Cherry Cola. That's what they know right now. But, you know, I've seen my 11-year-old with the words, just trying to learn it, because it hit them in a different kind of way. So yeah, I've got that on there. I've got, you know, I've got the Beatles. I've got The Cure. I've got like a whole bunch of albums from The Cure. I really enjoy The Cure. You know, I mean,
I've just had a Cure fest over the last month. I've just gone back to The Cure. Do you know what I mean? And started right at the beginning, Three Imaginary Boys, gone all the way through Pornography, Faith, the works all the way through. I still think probably Disintegration is my favorite album.
Disintegration is so fabulous. But I love Wish. Wish is a really good album.
Oh, isn't it? Isn't it?
I mean, and like, if you just kind of like, you know, if it's raining, Disintegration and Wish to me, and even the Head on the Door, it's one of those things, if it's raining and you could just, nobody's in the house, you could just be playing it and laying in bed, and just like all the imagery can pop it, and you can see everything. You know, I love The Cure. I think they're a fabulous band.
Oh, close to me from Head on the Door. If you just listen to Robert Smith's, you know, and you just think, that's genius, isn't it? That's genius.
You know, it's funny that you say that. Do you remember when it was popular to have ringtones that would play music? You know, remember that was popular, right? So, because it was a couple of years ago, people did that, right? So I had the ringtone that if I knew you, it would play close. That's what it would play, because I was like, well, I know them, it's close to me, you know, I know that one. And then at the time, I really
maybe I'll be sure. That's brilliant.
Anyway, you got to do this. You're gonna pull your hair.
I could scare you, but I did actually used to have hair just like Robert
you know
Smith.
what? It doesn't scare me, because the cat that I was talking about, my friend Gene, who got me into rock and roll, not only did he get me into rock and roll, I also I'm at the tribute bands too, like in Houston. So I do the Joan Jett in town, which is a lot of fun, right? And Gene does Bret Michaels. And Robert Smith, he does The Cure, and Vince Neil, like he does all these. It's so great. That's a really great example of somebody who like play all kinds of different music, because those three are so completely different.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
Music, you love what you love. I love storytelling. At times I want to listen to something disco-y. You know, I really, I don't think there should be any cap on what inspires you. Like, absolutely, you can't see it, but if you saw can I turn this real quick so you can see what my desk is? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually,
for any of you listening on Spotify right now to this coming back, what we're seeing is
that inspire me. You know, I've got
a whole load of Beatles paraphernalia and stuff.
I've got
on a shelf.
Beatles. I've got Elton John. I've got the pictures of my band up. I've got Wonder Woman. I've got Eddie Izzard. I've got this really great thing from Tress McNeil from Futurama. I've got Davy Johnson and John Jurgensen. Those were past and present members of Elton John's band that signed something for me when I was like 18 years old. Those things that whenever I'm sitting, I'm working and writing things, that's what I'm looking at. And those are all those people who inspire me. And then, of course, my family. I love
that. Absolutely. Well, what I'm missing from my wall, which is up here, you can't see it, and I don't have the technology to show people, is I have a whole load of little messages signed by people that have been on this show. So what I am missing from that, Emily, is one from you. So at some point, if you send me a little postcard, and I can pop that up on my little wall of people that will
this just for things like that.
See, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. I will give you my address. You can send me, and it will be up there alongside all of these other wonderful people that I've interviewed on the show. Now, if people want to hear your music, where do they go and hear Red Iris? Are you playing gigs? At the moment?
And then at the moment, sometimes it's really hard to get 4 people together for a gig. So I'm playing a few gigs in representation of Red Iris. Like I'm playing one this Saturday. I'm going to play 3 Red Iris gigs on Saturday in Port Arthur, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours away. So I'm driving out there because I want our name to be out there, and it's rock and roll music, but you can break it down and make it into, an acoustic version of it. And to me, the best music is something that you can take it. I was like, look, we got to be able to have a 4-piece, a 3-piece, 2-piece, and a 1. To me, you got to be able to be flexible like that. And so whenever, if the whole band can't make it, and I was like, hey, I'm coming and do this. They're like, all right. So I'll be doing that on Saturday. I do that quite a bit, but we do have a gig August 20th. And I know that hopefully we'll have another big one before then, but that we're all getting together and we'll be at the Wildcatter. So that'll be in Katy. And I believe we're opening up for, give me a second, Framing Hanley. I think I said that right. I might not have said that right.
There you go. And in terms of listening to your music, because obviously a lot of people that are listening to this might be in the UK, where can people listen to Red Iris as well?
iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, those are all the places you would stream. That's where we'll be. YouTube.
Stream it. Lovely. Is there places people can buy it?
Through our Facebook. If you message us and want, we have an EP, and we're working on another EP. But my views on how music should be and the way the bands aren't always the same, and since it's a democracy and not a dictatorship, I've got to be different. I do have my own solo music that I'm working on, which makes me a dictator in that sense. So I'll be able to say,
I have an ongoing campaign. You might want to join in with it too, which is if people want to stream music, which I think is a tremendous thing in itself, wonderful, but obviously it doesn't give people that make that music very much money. Then I recommend that the bands make merchandise and sell it, and that people at least buy the merchandise.
Oh, so we do that. We have T-shirts and things like that, and we have koozies and those kind of things. I have one of our biggest fans lives in Schwindon. Oh, I almost forgot. Because I remember the very first time I met him was years and years ago, and I was like, "Hello, Schwindon," and he looked at me, and I was like, "It's our joke." Anyway. And he's got a couple of our T-shirts, and he's a huge fan. His name is Christopher Passmore. He loves it. So we've sent him T-shirts out there, and he walks around like the only person in England with a Red Iris T-shirt. Very, very proud.
We should get more people should be buying Red Iris T-shirts. That is the way to go. Personally, I'm thinking at some point that we should have a collective T-shirt for any musician that's on Spotify, and it basically says, thanks for streaming my album on Spotify, and then it's a bucket where you put money in to buy these t-shirts, and it goes to all of the musicians that you're listening to. Isn't that a great idea?
I think that's great. That's it.
I think that should be a thing. I think that should happen. Just because I want people to understand that, we've missed live music so much through this pandemic. People haven't been able to go to gigs, etc. They haven't been able to see so much live music in the last year or so. Hopefully people are beginning to realize that actually, for a lot of musicians, unless you actually buy their music, they can't actually survive doing it. So, do support live music, folks. Do support musicians. Emily, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. No doubt we shall meet somewhere else down the line.
Yes.
Etc. And thanks for singing Elton John with me as well. I hope I didn't ruin it for you. But pleasure. If you're listening back to this on Spotify, wonderful. Again, we shall make sure there's some Red Iris tracks for you to listen to, either at the beginning or the end of this, or all the way through this as well, to keep you occupied and to get you in touch with Emily's great voice. But for now, this has been my music, and this has been Emily Glazener. And thank you very much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Graham.